Hi, and welcome back to Walking with the Chosen. I'm your host, Shay Keith. On today's episode, I'm going to be doing a special recap of 2024, and I'm going to share especially what happened at ChosenCon in 2024, as well as a Christmas miracle that I got to experience. I have so much to share, and I also want to tell you about the future plans for 2025, and I just want to get into it. So let's get started. Wow, I cannot believe I'm in the last week of 2024 and just only creating episode 6. What happened to this year? I really thought I was going to be producing a show every other week all year long, during the summer, during the spring, during the fall, and I don't know, it just disappeared very quickly. I think I got obsessed over trying to get my condo ready for the exchange student that was going to show up, and then I got really focused on my business, and my time just slipped by way too quickly. So I just wanted to do a quick recap of where I've been for the last many months. And I just wanted to thank you all for being part of my journey, whether I've been here for 6 episodes or if I was here for 12 or more episodes. I just really appreciate the fact that you're still listening and that I still have an audience to talk to. If it wasn't for my Facebook group, I'm not sure that I would have anybody left to talk to. And I sincerely apologize for not being a lot better of a podcaster. I've learned that time is one resource that I have very little of, unfortunately. So quickly, just a high-level recap. As all of you know, the last thing you probably heard from me was when I went to the set of The Chosen, and I got to be part of the story for season 5, and I cannot wait to see what happens. I think that's being released in April, maybe late March. I can't remember what Dallas said most recently. I've heard both dates, but I do know it's going to be quite impactful. When I was in Florida for ChosenCon, I ran into Daryl Eves, and I'm like, okay, tell me, when are we going to be getting to go back out to Chosen for season 6? And he goes, oh, it'll be about the same time next year. I'm like, oh, great. So you're saying like in April? And he goes, oh, no, more like June. I'm like, I was planning a trip to possibly go to Greece with my friend that I met at the Chosen last year, or I guess earlier this year. And the dates were going to coincide. And I was like, oh, we can't do this. I want to go on this trip, but I also want to be able to do the Chosen because Chosen is number one in my life when it comes to what kind of vacation do I want to have. So I am looking forward to whatever dates they come out with. And I will definitely keep you all posted in my Facebook group as soon as I know that they're looking for people to sign up for season 6. Believe me, I will be on that. I'm wanting to be there, and all my friends that I was with on season 5 are also planning on being back for season 6. So if you do happen to go this year and you have any questions on how to prepare for it, I might be able to help you out. I learned quite a bit last year. Let's hope I didn't forget everything I learned. I do have notes, so that'll help me for sure. But after The Chosen was over and I came back home here, I had a horrendous job of trying to get this condo ready for an exchange student that was going to be here in August. She was coming from Denmark, and my first time I ever had an exchange student, and I was like a single parent to this exchange student. I didn't know how well that would go. So my brother helped me get all the flooring done in the condo. There's still a few little things that need to be done, like I need some more floor trim done and some transition pieces finished. But the walls are painted, the new windows are in, the new furniture is here, the new appliances are here, and I'm very, very happy with my home the way it is. I have one major expense I still have to take care of in 2025, which is a new heating and cooling system. Mine's original from the late 80s, so thank God it's still working, and I just pray that it gets me by until I have to go buy another one here in a few months. But it's nice to have a home that's complete and not under construction. I was super stressed when that project began because I just felt like there was never going to be an end to it. It felt like a project that just will never end. I had people from my small group coming over helping me rip carpeting out and pull it out of here altogether. They loaded it up in their truck and took it to the dump for me, which was fantastic. And like I said, very thankful to have that in the past. I barely got the whole project done, including the guest room for my exchange student, when I had to go to the airport and pick her up. And I got Cornelia here, and I was so excited. I actually cried when I picked her up because I was just so thrilled to have this young girl get to live with me. And unfortunately, she didn't like the United States. She was here one day short of a month, and she decided to go home. And yes, it was heartbreaking. I enjoyed taking her to church with me and introducing her to all the church kids, but she's really not a church kind of girl. I guess in Denmark, that's not really a huge thing. There are some people who obviously are believers, but in her world, that just really wasn't something she wanted to do. So I don't think she liked going to my church that much, even though she wanted to try, and she did. But I don't think she enjoyed it that much, and that was unfortunate. The kids really loved her, and they were hoping that she would come back so that they get to know her better. But she decided to go home, and honestly, I'm glad she was here for the time that she was. I really enjoyed her company. It was a learning lesson for me. But after she left, I had to dive into something else, and my heart wasn't in the right place to come back to working on this podcast. As much as I wanted to, and I had plans to, I just didn't know how to dive into the story at that moment in time. So after Cornelia went home, I decided to go to ChosenCon. I already had tickets for that, and I was looking forward to it because my niece, who has also been watching the show now for a couple of years, she also wanted to attend ChosenCon with me. So we shared a room, and I got to introduce her to all my friends, which was a lot of fun. And we had a great experience at ChosenCon. So I'm going to break all that down and share that with you in just a moment. But first, I wanted to just finish telling my story about 2024. So after I got back from ChosenCon, my heart was set on, God, please help me get my business going. I have the side hustle business I really want to experience. I want to really build it up. And I already had a few clients in that business, but I wanted it to grow as long as it's part of God's will, obviously. So I started focusing on that. And for the last couple of months, have really dove headfirst into it. And the funny thing is I kept thinking, I'm going to get to the Chosen podcast. I'm going to get to it, thinking tomorrow or next week, I'll just keep putting it off a little bit longer, but then I'll get right back into it. And my brain was not realizing that, hello, this is November now. Oh, and now it's December. I'm like, what happened to the year? And then my hosting company for my podcast sent me some stats to say how many people have been downloading the show. And it said, you had 5 episodes, and I didn't even see it until I posted it out there on my Facebook group. And one of the members said, that's really great. You had so many listeners for 5 episodes. And I'm like, what? 5 episodes? No way. Very embarrassed that happened. I'm very disappointed in myself that I wasn't here more often to share this great story with you all. I love The Chosen so much, and I've watched it so many times, even through the summer and this fall, and cried every episode, just like I always do. And yet here I haven't been sharing this great story. So I do have plans for 2025, and at the end of the show, I will get into that on how I want to be able to bring this show to the right perspective in my life as it should be, and so I can continue to produce the show every couple of weeks for you instead of random here and there. I'm going to get better on that for 2025. It's definitely one of my goals. So let me jump back over to 2024 ChosenCon and tell you about all the exciting things that happened there. There were so many fun things. There was even a special surprise at the end, but I can't reveal much about that. So let's talk a little bit about what happened at ChosenCon. The very first thing I got to experience was, first my niece and I met up at the St. Louis airport. She was flying from Kansas City, and then she landed at St. Louis, and then we were able to ride the same flight down to Orlando, Florida. And as we were waiting for a shuttle to come take us to our hotel, Catherine Manning, who was on this show, she was one of my first guests I ever interviewed. She was there, and of course I saw her at Chosen. I saw her at ChosenCon last year, now this ChosenCon. She saw me, and she came running up to me, and I was about ready to look behind me like, who's she running up to? And she came running up to me and gave me the biggest, best hug I've ever experienced. It actually gave me the feeling of, this is what it would be like to finally get reunited with one of our loved ones in heaven. That great big, I can't believe it's you, I'm so excited to see you, and I'm just going to hug you. And it was the best hug ever. So Catherine, if you're watching, thank you so much for that. That hug meant a lot to me, and it's probably going to stand out as one of the best hugs I've ever received in my lifetime. That just shows the kind of heart that young girl has. And it was great because I not only got to see her, once we got over to the hotel, I recognized lots of people, whether from The Chosen, which was a lot harder to recognize them because they didn't have all of their first century clothing on anymore. They're wearing modern day clothing. But just to run into all of my friends that did come from the Chosen set. I have made the best closest women friends ever, and I got to reunite with all of them while I was at the ChosenCon, which was the highlight of the event. Because when I went last year, I didn't know anybody except for Betsy, who I only met at another conference, and we only got to speak for about an hour. So from that to getting to reunite with my friends that I was on the Chosen set was huge. It was very, very special. It was like having a family reunion with all your best friends. At the Chosen Con, they held this in a beautiful hotel, which was, I believe, was on Disney property, but it wasn't one of the Disney hotels. I think it was at Hilton, if I recall. It was a beautiful venue, a lot of space, much, much bigger than what they used the year before. But unfortunately, the one con of ChosenCon is the long lines you have to stand in. You have to stand a lot while you're waiting to get into the next thing. There are so many people there, but only so many open rooms with the people that you want to go see. The different actors or the producers, the villains, the good guys, the disciples, the women. I mean, there's all these different events that are taking place. And there were some amazing stories that a lot of the actors that aren't the most prominent actors, like the actress who plays Joanna, for instance, she's not the most prominent actor on The Chosen, but she has a very heartfelt story that she shared. And luckily, since I was at the ChosenCon, I have access to all of those behind the scene videos. But sadly, I haven't had time to watch any of them. There are several that I didn't get to see those stories being told, except for Joanna's. But there's many others I didn't get to see, and it's a disappointment. So hopefully The Chosen leaves that on their Chosen app for a while longer so I can get caught up and hear about these actors and their lives and how much they've been changed by The Chosen. It's really remarkable. And I do say that God works through The Chosen not only to help us, the people who get to watch the show, but it even helps the actors and producers and musicians, and all of them are being touched by the show in one way or another. And it's really beautiful to see that. The first night we were there, we were part of a VIP dinner that we had to pay extra for. And the food was okay. It wasn't the worst thing I've eaten. It's not the best thing I've eaten. Actually, it wasn't too bad because I think I had a beef kind of meal and it was actually really tender, and I didn't have too many complaints about it, but it wasn't fancy by any means. And they're trying to serve around maybe 2,000 people, I think, that were in the VIP. And we're talking about out of 8,000 to 10,000 people that attended the conference, about 2,000 are in this room just to have the VIP dinner. The first night VIP dinner had the musicians / composers. They were there and they were talking about one of the most crucial scenes of season 4, episode 3 at the end. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. And they were talking about how it was a 14-minute sequence and all the different types of music and how they played all of it in together to come up with the right scene music. It was very well done. It was very interesting. And before they started that, they did a video clip that I want to share with you all right now of how one particular scene from season 1 sounds different with the music. Unfortunately, the very first one I did not record. It was played to Top Gun music, so you can just imagine that. But now watch these other scenes and see the other types of music they played and how much it changes the way you interpret that scene. They're doing a thing with the composers, and so they're playing different music. They had Top Gun first, AC/DC, and now this one. They're showing the same scene over and over and how much the music impacts it. We also got to meet with all of the actors with the meet and greet where you go up and you get your picture taken. So if you've got 2 people or you got a group of 5. Last year I had a big group of friends that I was with, new friends that I just met. But then this time I just had my niece. So the 2 of us got all of our pictures taken with all the actors. You don't really get a chance to talk to them other than, hey, you gonna be back on the next episode or the next season? That's about all I got to ask of one of the actors that was there. But it was pretty cool to get those quick little pictures and just to have that memento for, to compare from year to year. So I've got 2023, now I've got 2024, and hopefully I will be back for ChosenCon 2025, and I can just add to my collection for all these great personalities, the people that I get to admire on TV. They had one area set up so that you could do a quick video. I think it's like a boomerang on Instagram. I'm not a huge Instagram person, so I don't know a lot of the details of what that is, but I didn't know what this was. They just had a background and a camera and a guy standing there taking a picture. And I saw on the screen before me, there were people were all doing some sort of movement. So I thought, well, I guess I need to do something. So I'll share the clip here of what I did. Quite silly. I didn't know what else to do, but at least it had some movement. And I think I might have shared it on Instagram a while back, or probably the day of that was taken. But it was just something silly they had set up. One of the other things they set up was a virtual reality area, so you got to wear these goggles, and once you put them on, everything was like 3-dimensional. So you could see the rooms. I think there was some Roman scenes in there, and obviously the high priest, Caiaphas. It was, I think one of those rooms might have been his, and it was really cool to be part of that. I can't remember all the different scenes because it's been a few months ago since I saw that. But I do remember they must have tied it in with some music or something, because as I was watching it, it kind of put me into the scene and it made me feel. And I remember tearing up while I had this vision goggle thingies on, and I was not expecting that. I was just kind of going, oh, this will be so cool to see, and then I'm walking away wiping my eyes. So it's amazing how much the show can impact your life. Then the Come and See group had a video playing that you got to walk into the room and it circled around you, and the music started, and they were basically talking about how much The Chosen is impacting people around the world, because we know Come and See Foundation is trying to raise money to translate this into 600 languages, which will cover, I think, 90% of the Earth's population. And right now, the last I heard was they have now translated it into 70 languages, which has outdone any other show ever. So that's pretty remarkable that they're able to get it in so many languages. But it was cool, and it's a video that you can now watch on the Chosen app. They have it on there as well. And I've noticed on the last 2 live streams, it's also the last thing that comes up. It's just a video that talks to different people and how much the story has impacted their life and how they're trying to impact people around the world. I think it was on Friday night or Saturday night, I can't remember anymore. We got to see this private screening of the best Christmas pageant ever. I knew nothing about the story other than Dallas raved about it. I didn't know what it was going to be about other than some kids and a Christmas pageant. But I sat there and watched it with all my besties, and it was amazing to watch. And the story at the end, just like in Chosen fashion, made me cry. It was very touching to watch how the story unfolded. And I think it's a great story to share with your family. If you haven't seen it, I don't know if it's in movie theaters anymore because this is right after Christmas when I'm filming this. But it is a great story to purchase and have it on your rack for the Christmas season when your kids or grandkids come over. It is such an important part of what the Christmas story is really about. And I'm so thankful that Dallas created it and that it turned out so well. I think his numbers must have really probably exceeded what he even expected, because there was a great turnout when I was there. And I know it stayed in the theaters probably longer than he even expected. So if you haven't watched it yet, definitely go see it. It was well worth watching it on ChosenCon and then to see it again with my family when I got back home. It's such a good story. Then Dallas opened up the ChosenCon to YouTube so that everybody could see the same news that he wanted to share about where the Chosen universe was going. So first off, he announced that he created a new studio name, 5 and 2 Studios, so you can buy t-shirts and hats to go along with that now, so that he can continue creating stories about the Chosen. So all of the new movies have that name in there. He's got one series that's going to come out right after The Chosen winds up after season 7, which will be about Moses. And I think he said that's going to be 3 seasons long. Between seasons 6 and 7 of The Chosen, he's going to release Joseph, which I can't wait to see that. I've been doing a Bible study on Joseph, all about forgiveness, for the past year with my Bible study group. And in addition, we just finished reading about Joseph in Genesis this week at church, We've been reading from that about 4, 5, 6 weeks now at church. So I can't wait to see how Dallas ties it all in together. And I saw Sight and Sound's story about Joseph as well. So I think that story is really becoming one of my favorite stories in the Bible, after Esther, because I really like Esther as well. But it's a really good story, and I love hearing all the different angles and learning more about Joseph in different ways. It's not all about forgiveness and how he forgives his brothers, but it also talks about how he is kind of like Jesus in many ways. I am not my pastor. I can't tell you all the details without getting my notes out on that, so I'm not even going to try. But that's what he showed us in his recent weeks at church, and I think that's very fascinating. So Joseph will be one season only, like I said, between seasons 6 and 7 of The Chosen. And then after Moses, after those 3 seasons are over, then he's going to come out with The Acts. And all of the new shows have The Chosen in part of the title, like The Way of the Chosen or something like that. Because, when Acts was here, they referred to Christianity as the way, so it's The Way of the Chosen. But anyway. And I think that Dallas mentioned in one of the live streams also that he doesn't know that all the actors who currently play the disciples will be in that because they may want to move on with their careers and not continue on with that character. But he obviously doesn't know that at this time, and that's several years out. Unfortunately, I think a lot of us were really hoping that that was going to be where we picked up right after The Chosen ended. So Dallas is very busy, but he's not the only person directing these. He's got somebody else, I believe, directing Moses, as I recall. And his crew is all very busy. The writers, the musicians, the actors. Because Jonathan Rumi is not only doing The Chosen, but now there's a cartoon version of The Chosen that he is also going to be doing. And I got to see a clip of that while at ChosenCon. And if you were watching on YouTube, you probably saw it too. But it's very cute, and I love the story. It picks up with Abigail, the little girl who was in episode 3 from season 1. It's following her around, and of course there's a talking chicken, I think, maybe a talking pig. I can't remember. Obviously she can't hear them. They don't talk to her, but they talk, so you know what their thoughts are. So that's going to be a really cute show when that comes out. I think he said that's coming out in 2025, but don't hold me to that because I can't remember for sure. But there's a lot of great things coming for Chosen, and I can't wait to see all of those things that come about. Dallas kept reminding us, make sure you stay to the very end of ChosenCon. Don't leave early. And I'm glad I didn't leave early because he had a lot more to show us. He started off by revealing a couple of clips from season 5. They weren't finished, they were raw. In fact, one of the scenes he showed us had a big green screen of Jerusalem, so you couldn't even see all the details of what it looks like. And it was the scene where Jesus is riding the donkey in and all the disciples are with him. So he showed us this raw cut video as they're walking in. And then all of a sudden you see some Pharisees coming running at him. And then I think it's Andrew that yells stop, I think. Andrew or John yells stop. And that's when they stop the clip. And we're all like, no, show us more. But it was the perfect lead in to something that Dallas wanted to do with us as a group. So when I was on the Chosen set, I was there at week 2. Week 1 got to film the scene of Jesus coming in to Jerusalem. And they were all singing. In fact, they got to do a night scene with the whole crew, the cast and crew. And one of their night scenes, they were talking about, make sure you practice this music. And I don't know if the music was sung at night or if they sung it during the day. I wasn't there. I don't know. But I do remember that that was one of their notes, is to make sure they learned their song. So maybe that's still going to be there. I don't know, because I don't know what their song was. But Dallas did say you can hear the people in the background in this raw video. He said, you can hear the people in the background, but you can tell that it's not real loud. He said, we weren't able to capture the voices as much because it's all open in Utah. So he said, we've got however many there were, 5,000, 8,000 people in this room. He said, I want you all to sing the part, and we're going to use it on The Chosen. So not only did I get to be on The Chosen season 5 in Utah, but now they're going to use all of our voices for this opening scene, or one of the scenes. I'm not even sure if it's the opening scene for season 5, but it was remarkable. It gave me chills to be part of it. And I have a clip for you here so that you can hear how we sounded.
A little bit of it, and it's Hosanna to the Son of David. That's what we're saying. And it'll go, Hosanna to the Son of David. Hosanna to the Son of David. Yes, exactly. And then we'll do that over and over again.
All right.
Ready? All right. And Hosanna to the Son of David. Hosanna to the Son of David. Hosanna to the Son of David.
And then not only did we get to do that several times, it was cool because the actor who plays Andrew was the one leading it. Man, he's got a really good voice. He was standing up there with the microphone and, queuing us up to do our part. And he just did such a nice job with that. Well, then they had us do kind of a chant thing as well. And one of my friends sent me this video so you can just hear us chanting this too.
Ready?
Hosanna! 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 So that was a very special moment to get to sing with The Chosen, that they recorded all of us, and to know that that's going to be in season 5. I really hope that turned out well the way Dallas wanted it to. Plus, we also got to sing with Phil Wickham. He did a great performance. He came out once before the church service started. So we did a church service on Saturday. We had the same pastor, Levi, who was here last year at 2023. He gave another outstanding sermon, and Phil Wickham sang before that sermon began, and then he came back out later and he sang a lot more of a song. So we had a private concert with him, and that was fantastic. It's always nice because they have all the words on the songs. As many songs as I know by Phil Wickham, sometimes, you forget the words. So it's kind of cool to get to sing along with that. And that was a lot of fun. It's so cool to be in these Christian concerts and just hear all these voices singing together, and you're all praising God together. It's such a wonderful experience.
My hands lifted high, oh God, the battle belongs to you. In every field, I lay at your feet. I sing to the night, oh God, the battle belongs to you.
Episode 8 of season 5. Do not record this. Do not have your phones out during this scene. Check this out.
The best thing that happened at ChosenCon 2024 was the biggest surprise of the night, that Dallas revealed something very special and only for us. He made us shut off our phones. We weren't allowed to record anything. He showed us a very special clip that happens in season 5. Then there was something very special that happened afterwards, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But it was so exciting, and the crowd was so happy. And after the ChosenCon was all over, yes, it's like, thank God we all stayed here till the end. But it continued over to after ChosenCon. And unfortunately, I can't tell you about something very special that I got to experience until after season 5 comes out, because this does relate to season 5. So once season 5 comes out and you know the big spoiler, then I can share a little bit more about something special that happened at ChosenCon. Hopefully I don't forget by the time that comes out. I won't forget what happened, but to remember to share it on the show is a totally different thing. But it was very special. We had such an amazing time at ChosenCon. Even though I really got tired of standing, my legs don't like standing that long. And when I say standing a long time, I'm saying when we wanted to wait to go through registration, we were there for a couple of hours waiting in line for the pre-registration to open up so we could finish the process. I wish there was a faster way for that. It's very difficult. And then when you want to wait to go into every little breakout room that they have with different actors, and like I said, there might have only been 6 breakout rooms at a time, and you've got all these people. A lot of the rooms would just fill up and you wouldn't even get a chance to sit down or even go in that room. So you might wait for a long time and then find out, well, there's no room. Sorry, you'll find something else to do. So that's unfortunate. It's just a very popular conference. Everybody wants to be there, and it's just hard to shuffle around that many people. Another really cool thing that happened on the last night after everything was said and done, my friends and I went to go grab something to eat. We hung out together until, 1 in the morning, I think. And Bob, who runs all the merch, you'll see him from time to time on the live streams, especially like on 5 and 2 days or Teal Tuesday, he'll show up. Super nice guy. Love Bob. I've met him, I think this was my 3rd time I've met Bob. He introduced himself to me at ChosenCon 2023, my first night there. He just sat down and had a chat with me. And then I flew back with him from the Chosen set, and we talked some more. And then I got to talk to him for about, an hour. Poor man was trying to go to bed. And my friends and I, we were just asking so many questions from him, and just really excited that he was there, and we just got to, ask him, how did you get involved with The Chosen, and what did you do before this? And so that was awesome. I would love to interview him someday and just share his heart. And I need to reach out to him to see if he would be willing to do that, because he's a really super nice guy, and I think you would really enjoy his interview as well. So that's all about ChosenCon. I try to get through that fairly quickly. There was so much to cover, and I just didn't want to bore you to death with everything that happened there. But one other thing I want to show you from ChosenCon was some of the artifacts that we got to see while we were there. Obviously, all the actors' clothing, but then there's several little pieces here of different things that came from the different scenes, even from season 4. So they had those that you could also look at while you were waiting in those really long lines. So now, something very important I want to share with you all was a Christmas miracle my family got to experience. My oldest brother has been in the hospital now the last couple of months, and he started getting sick back in around August, but it's possible he might have been sick before that. In fact, I think he probably was. We just didn't understand all the symptoms at the time. And when my parents celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary, yes, I said 70, on Thanksgiving Day, we celebrated with everybody was there, my brothers and their kids and whatnot. The whole family was there, and one of my nieces, she prepared all the food. She's a chef down in Texas, so she made all the food for us. And my oldest brother was there, but he couldn't eat. He was just very sick. And I hadn't seen him since July. We had a big get-together on July 4th weekend. And he had lost all his body weight. He had no muscle left. His body was even losing the protein. He's just been very, very sick. And between Thanksgiving and Christmas, he was in and out of the hospital multiple times. He had gone to one hospital for treatment, and he wasn't there very long, only a couple of days. They changed his medication and sent him home. And then right before Christmas, about a week before, the doctor knew that he wanted to send him from the small town that my parents live in to St. Louis. Barnes Jewish Hospital is there, and it's a very well-known hospital. And he wanted to get my brother up there. However, we found out he was like number 50 on the list to get one of the rooms at Barnes Hospital. So he said, you're going to have to stay in this hospital. Even though my brother was able to get up and kind of walk around the hospital, he couldn't leave the grounds. He had to stay there until he could go to Barnes. If he left, it would start the process all over again, and he really couldn't risk it. He wasn't able to eat. He's only allowed to have 32 ounces of water a day. I mean, it was very bad. So on Christmas, the day before Christmas Eve, I was home with my parents planning all the meals and all the food we're going to eat, and I was working. And my mom asked if I wanted to go out and walk with my brother. So I did, and I spent about 90 minutes with him. I just let him talk, and I listened, and it was good because there's been some tension between us for the last several months, apparently. Not on my end, but tension that he had towards me. And sometimes I wonder if that's because we have different theology, and that might be why. I wanted to still spend time with him, because when I saw him at Thanksgiving, I couldn't even talk. I just started crying. I just felt so bad to see how my brother looked, and I didn't know if I would see him again alive. So here it is, the day before Christmas Eve, and I walk around with him, and he wanted to meet some people that he hadn't seen in a long time, and like one lady who worked in the cafeteria, and somebody else he ran into as we were leaving that area. These people all recognize my brother. He's lived in my hometown his entire life. So a lot of people know him, and he's impacted a lot of people. And it was a good thing, I think, for him to see all that. But he was talking about some of the things he wants to work on. I played some music that my nephew in Sweden, he's a composer, music composer. He wrote this really beautiful 5-minute long piece, and so I was playing that for my brother, and then he was bragging about my nephew to the people that were coming into his room, like the person who drew blood or a nurse or whatever. And we had a really decent day. Well, then the next day, Christmas Eve morning, the doctor called my mom. I'm working on my work computer, and my mom came in, and she's got tears in her eyes. And my mom is a woman of steel. She never cries, and her eyes were watery. I knew this wasn't good, and she's like, it's not good. I'm going to go see Chris. And I said, well, can I come with you? And she's like, okay, yeah. And I don't think any of us knew at that point. We knew he was sick, but we didn't realize that he was really on his deathbed. I went and grabbed my brother and sister-in-law who were asleep in the other room. My dad had already left. He had gone to the bank and to whatever, and I think he might have been at the hospital. I called his oldest daughter. She didn't know about this. She was working, and she's like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm leaving right now. So she left work. She called her younger sister. So we all got to the hospital, but they were in the process of inserting like a PICC line into his chest so that it could keep giving him some more drugs and whatnot that he needed. And we were all waiting in the room, or waiting outside the room, and then we decided, well, let's just go hang out in the atrium for a while. The doctor knows where we're at and come find us. Well, then the nurse comes by, and she's letting us know that he may not come to well enough to fill out this power of attorney, but we needed to make some decisions. Like, do we keep going down this path of trying to treat my brother, or do we let him go if his heart stops? And that's where we were at. That morning when my mom got that phone call, the doctor said his heart rate had dropped to, I think it was 60/33, and his white blood count spiked to around 25,000. So, I mean, just horrible things that happened at the same time. And we really weren't sure what was happening, because this didn't, I mean, we knew that his body was struggling, but we didn't know why this happened. So we're all waiting, and finally, after we talked to the nurses, she kept trying to say, look, we're trying to get him to Barnes. We can't live flight him because the weather's too bad, and there's no beds open up in Barnes. And he was number 50th on the list. Now all of a sudden, he's next in line. So it's important that he gets in, but if he rides in an ambulance, they won't have the proper kind of care for him to resuscitate him, so we're going to have to send him in a specialized ambulance. And it's Christmas Eve, and we got to find somebody to do the transport. So there's a lot of things working against us, and she was really trying to tell us in the nicest way possible, your brother's probably not going to make it. So we didn't know what to do. My parents were waiting for the priest to show up, and when he got there, we all went in the room, and just to see my brother lying there, he looked like he was on his deathbed. I watched somebody pass away once, and that's what it looked like to me. And I thought, oh, this is the end. So we all grabbed hands. The priest prayed over him. I didn't realize at the time he was giving him last rites, but that's what it was. And we are all holding hands and laying our hands on my brother and praying for him. And then what do? You know, you're kind of walking around, and my parents and my oldest niece, they all went in to talk to the nurse because they're still trying to figure out what decision do we make in case he doesn't come to. We know he doesn't want to be on life support forever, that kind of thing. So they were trying to make decisions. I'm talking to my other brother, who's in Cabo, Mexico, who was supposed to be the one to do the power of attorney, but he wasn't around to sign the paperwork at the time. I mean, it's just kind of a mess, you know. So all of us are together in one way or another. My brother, whose son is in Sweden, the composer, he starts playing that music for him again. And he plays it all the way through once. And then he ends up playing it a second time, and all of a sudden, Chris starts opening his eyes. He went from non-responsive to on his deathbed to peeking open his eyes. And then everybody's like, he's starting to wake up. So we all rush back into the room again. And the nurse is trying to wake my brother up, trying to smack him in the face and everything. I'm like, gently, not mean, you know, just trying to like wake him up. And he starts to come to. And he comes up out of his bed, and it looks like he's going to kiss the nurse. It's kind of funny. We all got a big chuckle out of it, but she was literally right in his face too. And he kind of wakes up all of a sudden. And he can't talk well. His mouth's all dried out. He hasn't had much water, so they try to use that stuff in his mouth to make his mouth start working. My brother's still on the phone. I said, here, talk to Chris. So he starts talking to Chris. Chris starts telling us about his dreams and all these things he wants to do. And it's literally a miracle that he's even waking up. And the nurse didn't think he would be coherent if he woke up. Well, he went straight from being on his deathbed to, I'm having a conversation with you all. And he kept telling us about how he wants to go scuba diving. He wants to go to Sweden and compose music with my nephew. I mean, all these amazing things are taking place at one time. It was very beautiful to witness, but we still didn't know, are we on borrowed time or not? And luckily, my niece went and talked to her dad later in the day, and they had a really good father-daughter conversation. And my mom ended up staying with my brother later on. He wanted some cherry cheesecake that she made for our Christmas Eve dinner. So she brought that over to him while my sister-in-law and I prepared all the Christmas Eve dinners. And it felt weird doing that, knowing he wasn't coming over, but yet we're still moving forward with our Christmas plans. But yet my mom, I know, didn't really want to celebrate Christmas. I mean, she was very heartbroken, thinking her son's going to just leave us suddenly. So it was a hard place to be at, trying to stay positive and trying to trust in the Lord, and also knowing that your brother's life's in the balance. My mom walks through the door, and all of a sudden, my dad's on the phone with my brother, and he goes, they're going to life flight me out of here. They got a helicopter. I'm like, wait, what? Now the room opened up. I get to go to Barnes. My mom's like, how? I was just there. So as soon as she left the hospital, like 5 minutes away from my parents' house, they're saying he got a bed for him. But unfortunately, the helicopter still didn't happen. I think that was disappointing for my brother. He was anxious to be on the helicopter. But that didn't work. So there was somebody in the hometown that my brother knew, that knew my brother. When he found out that it was my brother that needed a ride to Barnes, he was all about it. He apparently got teared up, choked up, and was so happy to do something for my brother in return for everything my brother did for him in his life. So that was pretty special that he had a great person to take him all the way up to St. Louis, which was around a 3-hour drive. So he's now in a very good hospital. They have found a couple of infections in him, and he's taken some hard antibiotics. His white count has gone down. He's still not comfortable, and he'll still be up there for a few weeks, but we all have a lot of hope now that he's going to recover from this. And just like I said, the Christmas miracle was that morning of watching him go from deathbed to alert and talking about his future. And it was just a very good moment. And the tension that was there between my brother and I don't think is there anymore. I think God did something. I think God stepped in, and that's a very beautiful, miraculous thing. And I'm just very, very thankful for getting to witness that. And I knew that God was faithful because my mom had a premonition when she was a young girl, or not young girl, but younger woman. When my brother first got married, she knew that he was going to lose his firstborn son, and he did. It was a bad car accident. She knew he was going to have a rough life, and he did. But she knew something told her that it all works out in the end. And that's why I kept hanging on to that. Like, that was my hope, that my brother was going to survive. And I know that he's had a lot of talks with Jesus lately, and that's the thing, that maybe that's where his hope is, and that's where our hope is. And so it was just a really amazing thing to witness, and I'm so thankful that I got to see that. So now, after sharing all that, let me just tell you a little bit about 2025 and where I want to go with this show. I've asked questions of those of you who watch or listen to the show and you're inside the Chosen group. Kevin, thank you very much for your feedback. I appreciate it. And some of the others who also did. So I have lots of interviews recorded that I did when I came back from the Chosen set, and I still haven't got those aired. So that's one of the things I really want to get out there. I also want to finish season 2. I have episodes 2, season 2 ready to roll out. I just need to edit it a little bit. And that's about Nathaniel, how he gets started on the show. So I want to get that one done because I've already recorded it. But going forward after that episode, I want to start doing a little shorter summary. I still want to be able to do a recap, but not as long of a recap. I want to pull out some important aspects and relate it to the Bible. And I want to share Bible verses with you because that's something I've noticed in the Chosen fan groups, that people wish they understood a little bit more about how this ties into the Bible. Because even though the show isn't biblical, it does use biblical references. And it is nice sometimes to go, oh yeah, that really did happen in the Bible, or this is why it relates to the Bible. So that's more what I want to be able to talk about. I've always referred to myself as a baby Christian, and I feel like now I'm a little bit away from the infant stage and more into the toddler 3-year-old stage. I'll never reach maturity until the day I die, but I'm going to keep striving towards that, and hopefully I'll get to be, a little older child before too long, and then maybe I'll be the rebellious teenager phase at some point. Hopefully without the rebellious part, we don't need that, but you know what I mean. I'm trying every day, every week to be a little bit better than before. I want to share Bible verses as they relate to the show when I'm doing an episode recap. And if I'm doing an interview, I'm asking people to share what their favorite Bible verse is, or what is important to them, or maybe how it ties into maybe what they're talking about. I think we all have that, and I want to be able to help others in their journey. I realize that some of you may be much further along in your walk with the Lord than I am, but some of you might be new to the Chosen, newer than me, and you're wanting to get more information, and that's the kind of people I want to help guide a little bit. And obviously I'm not an expert in any means, but as I learn from something my pastor says, or something I've learned in my own daily Bible study, I'm going to try to save those special moments and then share them with you, because maybe it'll help you as well. There's so much out there. I mean, our journeys are never ending, and our learning is never ending as long as we're always open to learning what God has for us. So maybe something I share can be helpful in your life and in your walk. So that's something I want to be able to do for 2025. And also, I want to do these episodes consistently on the same day of the week. And I think I've landed on Thursdays. I think Thursdays are going to be the consistent day, but it's going to be every other week. And that's just so I can work on my business and then work on the podcast. Podcast is a time-consuming thing. It's very difficult to get everything in on time and get it released. So I don't want to stress myself out with trying to do it every week, at least not in the beginning. If things start to go better and I finally kind of get a rhythm with my side hustle in addition to my day job, then maybe I could get a good routine going with the podcast as well. It's still, sometimes it's hard to get myself in front of a camera and to open up and talk to you and share what I've learned or share about the episodes. It's not always easy talking into a camera. Even though there's nobody else here, there's nobody giving me a funny look while I do these, It's just all up here in my head. So it's hard sometimes to be like, is anybody really going to care what I have to say? Maybe not. Maybe all the systems are just lying to me that anybody downloads the show or watches it. But I do want to try to make this an interesting podcast for you and encourage you to keep watching the show. If you watched it one time, go watch it a second time. If you watched it twice, go watch it 4 times. I'm telling you, every time you watch the show, you're going to get something new out of The Chosen. It's such an important, impactful show for all of us. And I guarantee you that when you're going through your different areas, the different struggles of your walk, you're going to see something new when you watch the show again. I'm getting ready to go back. I think I'll watch season 4 again because I've seen the first 3 seasons, especially the first 2 seasons, many times. And I really love season 4. As hard as it is, oh my gosh, it's such a hard season to watch. But there's so many good things that you get to witness through that as well. So as I said, I've got one more episode for season 2. Episode 2 that I want to get out next. That's probably going to be the next episode you're going to see here on this show. And then I have a lot of interviews, and I really want to get through all the rest of the episodes because I think it's important to lead up to it, because when season 5 comes out, I want to be able to talk about season 5 because I might be able to give you some insight on what I saw while I was there. That's important too. Oh, gosh. I know I'm about ready to start rambling if I keep talking. So thank you so much again for watching to the end and just being here with me. And I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. I pray you have a blessed new year for 2025. Ignore my cat in the background if you can hear her wanting attention. And I just really pray that God blesses you and God blesses your family. You've meant a lot to me. I love being in the Facebook group with you all, and I pray that you will join this group if you're not in it right now, just because it's nice to have people to pray with you and pray for you. Everybody has been so warm and helpful and praying for my brother and his health, and I just really appreciate each and every one of you for listening and watching. So that's all for 2024. Happy New Year, and I will see you in 2025.
Hey, pretty crazy that my boat landed right where you were walking.
What are the chances, huh?